Hi there, welcome to the Nitty Gritty Writing Podcast. I'm Simon Cantan.
And I'm Dave Higgins.
And today we're going to be talking about launching books. But before we do that, we'll do our usual roundup of what we've been up to. And Dave, you can go first. Can you hear me?
I can now, yeah. It's a little giggle in the signal now for a second. Yeah, so, right. As I mentioned 2 weeks ago, it was my birthday a little while ago. So we took the week off. So over the last 2 weeks, I've done 2 episodes of Seven Stones and a bit of fiddling with some short stories. But I did it all in the space of a week and took a week off for my birthday because I figured it would be nice to have a holiday at some point this year, and that was as close to an excuse to take a week off as I was going to get.
Yep. Was there anything else? That was it?
That's it for me.
Grant, I have a launch today for Blood Crawl, which is the first in the Gods of Blood and Shadow series. And I also just finished the beta reading for Fields of Dust, which was my post-apocalyptic book. And that had some interesting results. So I'm using my app that I've talked about on my website, and it had major technical issues, so I have a PC. All I have is PCs. So I tested it like crazy on PCs, and then on Mac and Linux, it didn't work properly, which is typical. If you can only test on one thing, well, of course, the other things aren't going to work. So on Linux, the next page button was under the text. So you would have had to scroll down, press next page, scroll up again, read, scroll down, press next page. So needless to say, no one wanted to do that. And on Mac, there was like a dialog box over the text that you couldn't get rid of. So that wasn't much fun either. Yeah. So yeah, I need to test it better before I send it out next time. But the people who did manage to read, they said that the beginning was very slow, but once it got going, it was good. And so I said on my email to that mailing list to my beta readers, I said, you know, some people have said the beginning's slow, but once it gets going, it's good. And I got an email from someone who's been reading me for a number of years, and they said, yeah, I noticed that it was really slow at the beginning, but I knew it was one of your books, so your beginnings are always slow, and I knew to get going. And I went, oh, okay. Because that's something would have been incredibly useful to hear 3 years ago, that it's the kind of thing that you don't know yourself, but it's something you can fix. You can make your beginnings better if you know that.
Yeah.
So that's useful to know, and it's something we've noticed on our joint books as well, that the beginnings is what people have had niggles with. So that's something I need to work on. And apart from that, I've been working like crazy on the website thing, because I've been trying to do, so I got loads of stuff around it in order to add books and edit books and delete books and add series and edit series and delete series and all that kind of stuff. But I have one thing that was quite useful, hopefully, which I thought I'd share very briefly. And that's, if you see here, this is my WordPress website. And this page here isn't HTML, or isn't, it's not written on that page on my website. That page there with Blood Crawl on it is generated based on a code in the background. So there's only 3 or 4 lines of code in that page, that then goes and fetches the cover and the title and the genre and the description and everything, and the links down here. So this link, for instance, finds out what country I'm in, and then finds out what Amazon store is relevant for that country. So for me, it's US store, and makes it a link to the US store. If you went to my website, Dave, it should point to the UK store. If someone in Japan goes to it, it should point to the Japanese store. Which means that if I stop sharing again, what that means is that if I want to change my cover or my description or anything like that, I can now change it on my website, my application website, and it changes every single other place I've put that product page. So I can put it tons of different places. I could put it inside a post. I can put it inside a page. I can do whatever I want with it. It's just HTML and JavaScript, so it runs everywhere. And if I change it anywhere, it'll change. If I want to change it, I can change it one place, and it'll change absolutely everywhere at the same time. So it does that. It does the Amazon different links, and it also tracks what country the person is from, how many people. So someone goes to that page, it tracks the fact that they've gone to that page and what country they're in. And if someone clicks on a link, it says, okay, that person from the US clicked on the Amazon link and went off to the Amazon store. So I don't know if they buy the book. That's, there's no link into Amazon's data, but at least I can tell how well the page is performing, because I can tell, okay, 100 people went to this page and only 2 people clicked on any of the links. Well, then either the cover or the description is not good enough, or the people that are going to it are not interested in vampires. So all of that hopefully will be part of the application website when I eventually manage to launch it. So that was me for the week. So that thing there took quite a bit of time to get it right. And then I've still got some little tweaks to do about the mobile version, because the mobile version works, but it's got a little margin. And I don't like that it has a little margin, so I need to fix that. But other than that, coming up, I've got to finish off Fields of Dust, do my little beta reading tweaks based on the beta reading. Then I'll be working on Sorcery, and then I've cleared off everything that I've had this year. So out of the 5 books that I started since February, I'll actually have them all edited and out of the way, which would be pretty good, because for me personally, I prefer to have one project I'm working on, and having 5 books that I was working on has been a bit too much kind of mental juggling. So yeah, that was me for the week. So we move on to our topic, I guess. Go ahead, Dave. Did you want to say something?
No, it's just you mentioning that targeted links for Amazon. I followed a link from someone's social media post to a book on Amazon, and they hadn't used one. So I ended up on Amazon.com because they just stuck the US one in. And that when you go to an Amazon site that isn't the one your Kindle's registered with, you get a banner along the top saying, do you want to change which country your Kindle is registered with? Are you aware you can use the Amazon.co.uk site? But there isn't actually I noticed today, go to this product on the Amazon.co.uk link in that banner, which strikes me as a missed opportunity, because I get taken to whichever page I get taken to. I can't buy the book there. And if I click on the go to Amazon UK, it takes me to the Amazon UK front page, at which point I've navigated off the page that tells me what the product code and all the details I need to search for the book are.
That's Yeah, that is a missed opportunity. Amazon should have a pop-up that says, I see that you've gone to the com site. Do you want to always go to the co.uk for whatever product you're looking at?
Maybe that, or maybe just, I mean, it's generating the banner along the top of the product page. So you could pass the product ID in the link to amazon.co.uk. So if someone goes, well, no, actually, I want to buy from amazon.com, then that's fine. If someone goes, oh, drat, I'm on the wrong site because it wasn't a geo link, and clicks on go to the UK site, it takes them to the right page on the UK site, maybe. And there are different ways to do it. Yeah, something would be good.
I mean, it's a missed opportunity for the person that was putting the link up as well, because if they have an affiliate account for .co.uk, they miss out on the. If you have to navigate to find it, first of all, 90% of people are just going to go, screw it, I don't care, and not even buy the book. But the people who do then navigate, you've got potentially 4% of their sale price you could have. Whereas if you use the affiliate link, then if it actually geo linked with the affiliate code, then you get a little bit extra money. I mean, it's never very much that I get, but it's always like I'm in a country where they can't pay me, so they give it in credit on the Amazon store, which is perfect because then I can buy books. Like there's no I can't I don't have to justify to my wife, okay, I'm going to use, $20 or $30 on books. I can just say, well, I can't take it out. I just have to buy these books.
Yeah.
One other small thing I found out this week. Microsoft Word screwed up on me. I was doing a last little grammar check before I put the book up on Amazon. And Word changed 2 semicolons in a 50,000 word book to ampersand hashtag 40. So like the ASCII code. So one of my readers said, you might want to fix this before it goes live. But of course, because Amazon required that 2 weeks before you publish the book, you have to put it up. I couldn't change it before all the pre-orders got their copies. So if any of them are listening, I'm sorry that you'll get 2 spots in the book. It's only 2, so it's not too bad, hopefully. It's annoying that Word did that. Microsoft Word is crap. So our topic for this week is kind of a selfish one because of me launching a book, and it's launching books. So it's something I would say neither of us are particularly good at. I don't know if that's fair to say, Dave, but I looked over my best launch month up till now has been 32 books sold in the first month of a paid, like a freebies. Obviously, you can give away lots of free books, but of an actual paid book is 32 in the first month, which is not amazing. I mean, it's not bad either, but it's not amazing. At least someone's reading them, but 32 people is quite low. I have a mailing list of 1,000 people, but I think I have the wrong people on my mailing list. Just looking at, so there's two possibilities today. I looked at my MailChimp opens because I sent out an email saying the book's out, you can go and buy it for 99 cents. And it was like 16% opens and 4 people clicked out of 1,000, which is not particularly good. So this podcast, at least I think, is going to be speculation on what we could do better rather than either of us having particularly great tips on how to launch a book. Would that be fair to say, Dave?
Probably, yes.
So one thing I thought was a positive is Hard Vacuum, which was published 3 years ago. That has massively jumped. It's jumped 100% in downloads, which has led to an 100% increase in sales of the second one in the series. So one positive out of that is that whilst I'm not particularly good at launches, I'm learning enough that it's not the end of the world. Like, these books are there forever. If you mess up the launch, you can still fix them so that then long term it does better. So I mentioned in, I think maybe the previous podcast or the one before, that I changed the cover so that it looks like military sci-fi, which is really what it is in a way. I mean, it's not Battlestar Galactica, but it's Die Hard in space and with a space marine. So so that's led to a massive increase. So I think we'll talk about book launches, but launches aren't the only thing. You can improve a book that's already out there and make it better. The same guy who talked about my starts being slow, always being slow, the same reader, he said that when I changed the first book in the Bitter End series, he said that was a massive improvement, that it wasn't slow. So at the start of that book, there was a lot of faffing around, introducing the characters, and instead I started it with a battle. And he was saying, yeah, that's great. Like, you get straight into the action. When he reread that book, he said it was much better. So it is possible to improve things, but we'll talk about launches, I guess. So there's lots of different avenues for launching a book. Chris Fox just put up a video this week. I don't know if you saw it, Dave, about his launches.
No, I haven't.
So what he was saying was Amazon are using data science in the background. And what that means is that they're trying to guess what a reader wants to read. And if you put your book up on BookBub or Fussy Librarian or eReader News Today or something like that, that there's a mix of all these different readers who all like different things. So I'm hearing an echo. If you, maybe I'm just hearing myself off your speakers or something. Maybe. Sorry. Anyway. So readers on mailing lists, or like my mailing list, for instance, has some people who like my fantasy books and some people who like my military sci-fi and some people who like our funny sci-fi and so on. So they all have very different types of books on their Amazon also bought. Like, they bought a whole, like someone who likes military sci-fi has a load of military sci-fi, but someone who likes Green Star has Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and that kind of stuff. And someone who likes my fantasy also has Terry Pratchett and Piers Anthony and that kind of stuff. So there's a massive blend. So Amazon goes to my book, my new vampire book, and says, okay, what's this like? Okay, I don't know what the hell it is, because I've got some Terry Pratchett and I've got some, military sci-fi, I've got some Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, all this kind of mix of stuff. So I don't know what kind of reader wants this, so I can't recommend it to anyone. So what Chris Fox was saying was that he wants to advertise to just the kind of people who he wants on his also boughts. So he only wants to advertise that book to his military like his military sci-fi only goes to military sci-fi people. So then Amazon in the background goes, oh, it's a military sci-fi book, I'll recommend it to people who like military sci-fi. Which made a lot of sense to me.
That does make sense. Yeah, it's not quite having a different pen name for each type of book, but sort of a similar thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that screwed me up, I think. That I write sci-fi and fantasy. And for me, we've talked about this before, for me, sci-fi and fantasy is all sci-fi and fantasy. Funny sci-fi and fantasy, hard sci-fi, hard fantasy, all this kind of big range of stuff. But the majority of people like one subgenre and they just read that. So Amazon or even friends want to recommend just things that match that. So when my readers on my mailing list, the reason why there's so few of them opening, if I had just written comic fantasy, like my first series was, then my mailing list would be filled with people who like comic fantasy. And when I brought out a new book, they'd say, "Oh, it's a new comic fantasy book," and they would read it. Like that's the thing that Terry Pratchett with his series did very well, because people knew a Terry Pratchett book, for the most part, apart from a few exceptions, was going to be one of these Ankh-Morpork stories, and they knew what they were going to get. Whereas with my books, I haven't stayed still. Like I haven't written. So our Dragons and Magic series that's coming out is meant to be close to the Bitter End series, and that was kind of one of the points of writing it, was to latch onto that. But other than that, everything has just been all over the map. Like I couldn't say to someone who's read Kyra Sarin, "Oh, the next thing you should read is X," because there is no other military sci-fi. And on the one hand, I don't know that I'd be particularly happy just writing one subgenre. But on the other, it does make things much more difficult if I'm just starting from scratch every time. Like if my mailing list are just saying, "Well, that's not interesting to me because that's not what I first read of yours. Get back to me when you've got something that's similar to Bitter End or whatever." So on the one hand, there's that. But on the other hand, I have no audience of such a size that I could then support myself just on them. So the Bitter End readers, there's about 400, 500, 600, something like that. I've read all the way through. So people who've read the last book, I forget how many, but it's it's under 1,000 at least, 500 to 600 probably. That's probably the biggest. The Kyra Sarin, there's something wrong there. People don't read the third book. Don't know. I need to fix that.
Don't know why.
I think so. The first book is it's a cliffhanger, so it tells a complete story, but you still want to find out if Kyra gets the bad guy, because there's a bad guy and then there's a bad guy's boss. So does Kyra get the bad guy's boss kind of thing? But at the end of the second book, she gets, spoiler alert, I guess, she's a hero. It's not a Game of Thrones thing. She gets the bad guy's boss. So then the next story is its own thing. So people may be going, "Okay, well, this is a good point to stop." And then they never go back, because that series is not groundbreaking in any way. It's not something you can't find anywhere else. Die Hard in Space is not it's not sophisticated, to put it that way. So it never pops up again. It's not like I'm reading Sixth Watch at the moment. So have you read the Night Watch series, Dave? Sergei
Lubienko, something like that. Yeah, I've read most of them. Haven't read the last one.
Yeah, so the last one only came out a week ago.
Yeah.
But that was one where I went, "Oh yeah, I want to read that right away," even though it's the ridiculous traditional publisher prices. So that is something that you can't get anywhere else, with its kind of Russian philosophical angle on vampires and witches and wizards and stuff. But the action sci-fi stuff, I think there's nothing there you can't get somewhere else, and you just forget about it, really. You move on. You say, "Oh, I might get back to the third book sometime," and then you never do. But anyway, I've forgotten what the whole point of this was. But oh yeah, so numbers of readers. So in that series, there's a few hundred people have read the second book, probably more actually, but the third book, it's less than 50, I'd say. So my point being that those are my biggest series, and there's nothing there that if those readers said, okay, Simon Cantan is never going to write anything else that I'm interested in, and move on to other authors, but something else takes off, so my post-apocalyptic takes off, or my vampire book takes off, or whatever, and sells, thousands, there's thousands of people reading, it's kind of, it's not something, I'm not losing something that I can never get back. It's not like if I was Hugh Howey and I'd written Wool, and got to the end of Wool and then said, okay, now I'm going to write vampire books. He's losing however many hundreds of thousands or millions of readers or whatever, by doing that. Or J.K. Rowling moving to general fiction and then detective fiction. I mean, she potentially lost all those readers, but then she was okay with that. So I guess my point being that I'm starting from scratch, but then not necessarily, even if I had written something that was the same genre, same subgenre, I wouldn't necessarily be starting from such a strong point anyway. I guess. Does that make sense, Dave?
Yeah.
So, like, you're writing your dark fantasy, with 7 Stones.
Yes.
But from your point of view, Green Star doesn't have much crossover, I would say, to 7 Stones.
Not well. For me, it does, because I can see the same sort of things about it. And it's asking the same questions about what it's like to be a hero, just not in the same way. So I think possibly sort of they seem, I could point at similarities because I wrote both of them. So it's got the similarity. They've both got my perspective on things to unite them. But I have a very broad reading spectrum anyway. So and I don't think me seeing the similarities between things is necessarily an indication that most readers would.
Yeah, I mean, I would think if Quentin Tarantino decided to make a kids movie, whilst the kids movie may have similar themes to Kill Bill, it'd be a very different tone and a very different sort of movie, and most people would not kind of see the similarity.
Yeah, this is why I have difficulty actually instinctively taking readers don't change, because for me, I read Kyra Sarin and I go, oh, I like this author. Oh, he's written more books. Comic fantasy. Yeah, sure, I'll read Bitter End. Sort of, what do I read? I finished Bitter End. What do I read? That utterly awesome, shiny new Swindle book. That's well worth reading. Anyone's finished Kyra Sarin, read Shiny New Swindle. It's great. But so I can understand that intellectually that people don't. And if I'm writing a list of things that are important to remember, I'll put that readers don't tend to jump from one genre to another as much as you'd expect. But it doesn't feel like a natural conclusion to me. So this, I think, is my major issue with book launches, that for me, if an author releases a new book, I'll go, oh, that's nice. And then if they're an author I buy lots of stuff from, I'll buy their new book. Whereas, so I don't instinctively, when I'm planning, think, oh, I need to target my new book at a completely different audience. My instinctive thing is, well, obviously my current audience are going to be interested that I've released a new book. And maybe they're not. Maybe some of them do like Green Star, but they don't like Seven Stones because Seven Stones isn't funny. It's got some humor in. It's kind of dark, cynical humor rather than the farce of Green Star.
Mm.
So,
I mean, I would say that when it comes to humor, at least, the humor is very subjective. So you could enjoy Seven Stones, but not have the same sense of humor as we have.
Yeah.
So that could definitely be an issue that trips you up, where like someone reads Green Star and says, well, this is just silly, it's not funny. But they like your serious stuff because the serious stuff, you know, has banter or whatever, but it's not ridiculous. And if you don't like ridiculous humor, you just won't like it. So yeah, I mean, I think humor is one thing that can definitely trip you up in terms of tone, because yeah, if you don't find it funny, you don't find it funny. But then if you're going from Green Star to Seven Stones, maybe you'd think, oh, well, I'd rather read something lighter because I don't want to be dragged down. I've had a hard day. I want to have something light and funny, I guess. Something like that. Maybe. One tip I did hear during the week, which was very useful, is this guy called Evan Carmichael, who writes kind of inspirational, motivational. Sorry, he doesn't write. He makes inspirational, motivational YouTube videos. Usually, they're tips from entrepreneurs or directors or actors or people who have succeeded about what their philosophy is on success. And he himself, Evan Carmichael, was doing a video where he said that he looks at his subscriber base, and he has 400,000 subscribers, and he thinks, okay, how can I get to 4 million subscribers? And he says to himself, I could do this marketing and I could do that marketing or whatever, but then he always has to remind himself, no, I need to make the videos so good that people share them, and then I get 4 million subscribers. That he's saying, he's saying to himself, I'm not good enough yet. My videos aren't good enough yet to be worth 4 million subscribers. I liked that philosophy quite a lot, because it fits with my philosophy of, if my books are so good that people tell everyone, well, then you get lots of readers, and then it won't matter. So you write a book that's in a genre you've never written before. I write a mystery or something like that. I have no readers who are anyway interested in that, but someone stumbles across it on Amazon and reads it and tells all their friends, this is the best mystery book I've ever read. Then you're going to get a mystery fan base anyway. So that's another kind of, you can look at launches as what are the best marketing things to do. And you certainly need to get some readers. If no one ever reads the book, then no one's ever going to share the book. But if the book itself can't support, like if you're just pushing money into it to force it up in the charts, that's not really, there's a core issue you need to fix first, I guess, would be my thought on it. because we can write average books. I mean, I think everyone can get to the stage where they can write a book that's people read and go, yeah, that was pretty good, or that was fine, but they wouldn't recommend it to their friends or anything. Whereas all of us, I think, potentially with hard work can get to the stage where we're writing something that people go, well, that's something I could never get anywhere else, and it's well worth reading, and everyone I know should read it because, you know, it's so entertaining, like Harry Potter or whatever spread because it was so good that, you know, adults read Harry Potter or still read Harry Potter because their friends, their adult friends said, no, I know it says it's a kid's book, but this is so good, you should read it anyway. Like they would read it for their kid and then go, oh, I'm going to take this, I'm going to read it myself after the kid's fallen asleep. So yeah, I mean, I guess we're wandering away from book launches, but I guess my kind of point would be that focusing too much on, okay, it's my book launch is coming up, I need to do this Facebook marketing and I need to do this and that and the other. Maybe it's certainly, if you can do that right, Chris Fox is making a lot of money on his books. But I would guess that a big part of that as well is that his books match exactly what the reader's expectations are for the genre, the subgenre, and are also very well written. So then people are happy to share them, I would say, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a theory that launches don't matter, that launches are part of the problem, not part of the solution. You just stick the book up there and move on. And don't do anything at all other than mention that you've released it. But you're not looking for that boost. I don't know. It depends, I think, on how you view the Amazon algorithms and the various other bookseller algorithms. Whether you think that those initial sales are good, or whether you don't actually think there's any benefit in selling 30 copies on the first day as opposed to selling the same 30 copies over the first month. In terms of money, each sale gets you the same amount of money. So is there a benefit in having all of those sales grouped to push you up the rankings?
I would say the benefit is not, so if you forget the rankings for a moment, so I have my book at 99 cents because I want to find out as early as possible if this is something that people want to read. Because then if I don't want to write a 10-book series and then people go, yeah, that was boring, I'm never going to read the second one.
Yeah.
I want people to read the first one, review it, or tell me in email or social media or whatever it happens to be, and say, oh yeah, that was okay, or that was so good, you have to write the second one, get on it right now. If enough people say that, I'll be writing the second one as soon as I possibly can. So regardless of the rankings, that would, so me getting sales on the first day is people hopefully reading in the first few days or a few weeks or whatever it happens to be, and then hopefully giving me feedback and saying that's good or whatever, and potentially as well sales in the first month after people have read it will tell me, okay, someone's telling their friends somewhere. So I kind of derailed your point a bit, but I guess for me at the moment that would be my philosophy, and I could certainly be wrong. It could be that, okay, it doesn't matter how good your book is, because if you don't get up in the rankings, you're just going to be part of the 99% of books that never get seen anyway.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, so taking the other point at the other side of it, which you were getting to, but I just kind of rolled over you. Getting all the sales in one go does push you higher in the rankings, and that will mean that certain people will see your book that would not see it otherwise. But at least my the amount of people I can get to buy a book, I've reached, number 435 in the store in the subcategory. So that's not going to help anything anyway. I mean, I'd have to get in the top 20 of a category to have any kind of impact.
Yeah.
I think most people watching or listening will probably know that. So if 100% of the people are reading the first bit before the fold would be in a newspaper, so the first 10 books or 8 books or whatever it happens to be, that only, whatever it is, 60% scroll. Most people are just going to look at the first 8 books. Only 60% will scroll. Only 30% will go to the second page. And by the time you get into the third page, there's no one. So if Amazon does a top 100, but they might as well just do a top 20, because the majority of people are not going to look beyond the top 20 anyway.
Yeah.
Which is where the advantage of free books comes in, where you can rank for free books easier than you can rank for paid books. So for Hard Vacuum, I'm consistently in the top 1 or 2 for certain subcategories in free, because I'm quite happy to give away one book if it means I sell a second one.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of come to our time. Was there anything else you wanted to cover, Dave?
Don't think so, no. Just taking a quick look at the video. Doesn't look like we've had any write-in questions for this one. So I think I'm done for the day.
Cool. One thing I wanted to mention just at the end was we said at the very start, which was a long time ago now, that we were looking for a third co-host, because sometimes we kind of run out of things to say. So it's always nice to have a third person to give their input. So please do let us know if you'd be interested. You can find my email on my website, or let us know on social media, or just comment below this video and we'll see it.
Yep.
Because it'd be good to get a third person still. Right. So we should be back in a week's time, and barring any, we've had every 2 weeks for a little while, but we should be back next week.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
For now.